Hi, I'm Dr. Courtney, Jesus Professor, and in this episode of Prophecy 101, we're discussing a false prophecy from Eric Metaxas. I like Eric Metaxas. I see him as a smart and articulate teacher of truth and faithful servant of Jesus. However, he has a significant error in his book, Letter to the American Church, and associated speaking tour promoting the book. Metaxas raises a lot of good points that are worthy of discussion and consideration. Here, my focus is on his inference that the United States is in a third existential crisis, and that if the church rises up and courageously does its job in the political sphere, that the United States can be preserved. The first two existential crises that Metaxas speaks of were the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. Metaxas makes an analogy between the church in the United States today and the church in Germany in 1933 and 34. Metaxas says, "This is our third existential crisis in which we could cease to exist as a nation unless the church arises. The church did not arise in time in Germany, and as a result, satanic evil was unleashed in Europe." Metaxas continues, I really wish that I were speaking hyperbolically, but it's my very sober estimation that we are precisely where the German church was in 1933 or 34, and most pastors and Christian leaders are saying, we'll be okay, we don't need to get radical. Well, still Metaxas speaking, I wish that were true. I don't think that's true. So the question is whether the church in America will repeat the nightmare of the church in Germany, or whether we will heed the prophetic voice of Bonhoeffer. The error that Metaxas is making that makes this a false prophecy is the clear inference that the United States has not already reached the point of no return, that somehow sufficient courage and action by the church could preserve the United States as a whole. However, unlike Germany in 1933, the United States already has the blood on its hands of tens of millions of unborn Americans. We would do well to remember that there came a time in the history of Israel and Judah that even the national repentance under the leadership of King Josiah was insufficient to preserve the nation. The Bible explains, surely the destruction of Judah happened according to the Lord's command, in order to remove them from his presence because of the sins of Manasseh and all he had done, including the shedding of innocent blood. For he, Manasseh, had filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, and the Lord was not willing to forgive. Once a nation is past the point of no return, churches may well be in full obedience to focus on the work of discipleship in their own churches, towns, and states without much time, effort, or money spent on national issues. This seems to be the case for Rome at the time Jesus wrote his letters to the 7 churches in the book of Revelation. Jesus writes to each of the 7 local churches about their own issues, things that they're doing well, and things in need of correction specific to each local church. There is no hint that somehow through political action that the whole of Rome might be preserved. Rome was past the point of no return. Just as a huge revival and widespread repentance could not save Judah and Jerusalem under King Josiah, any efforts of the church to presume Rome would have been silly and fruitless. Jesus is speaking to the American church in 2024, but what he is saying is much closer to the letters to the 7 churches in Revelation than calls for widespread political activity on a national scale.